Hey everyone, you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. I am your host, Andrew Davis, and this episode is brought to you by my sponsor, Sahal, which is on Kickstarter right now. The signs of the times are upon us. The dead have been disturbed, the water currents have reversed, and quakes are now standard, and the winds are now deadly. It is a fascinating book. I think it is 100% funded on Kickstarter, and the art is amazing. Go check it out. Links in the description up above. Also, you can go email me at andrewedavis@hotmail.com if you would like to advertise on this very show as well. And I am doing some sweet deals that I will be announcing on Thursday for Free Comic Book Day. Very cheap deals for the first 10 people who want to bite at the apple and go down that route. So watch me on Thursday night around 9 o'clock. And without further ado, I'm not going to bore you with the rest of my sponsors because I have with me comic creator and comic company owner Dustin Brunell. So welcome to the show.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, I am very, very excited to have you on. And obviously you right now are in the middle of funding If It Hops #1 and Theater 7 preview on Kickstarter right now. So what is before we deep dive into the project, what is the basic premise of the comic?
If It Hops is that I don't know, that like project that you always wanted to do and you didn't know you wanted to do it, right? You had no clue until you started doing it and you're like, oh man, this is the coolest thing. So If It Hops is about an anthropomorphic world. Our main character is Agent C. She's a bunny. She's a great character. A lot of fun, super jovial character, kind of nervous, but when it comes down to the wire, man, she's hard on, man. She's mad fun. If you enjoyed like things like Seven or Zootopia, both those things are great references to what kind of story it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on into it. And obviously I'm curious, where did this idea come from? Because it is anthropomorphic and there's a lot of other things that are sort of happening in this that we're going to dive into. But where did this idea even come from? Because this is sort of the fun book that the fans have seen out of your work. And that's kind of the cool thing about it.
I think it's probably my darkest book, like no BS whatsoever. Like it's probably my darkest book. As far as things like the concept of the book, I put out a book called Babes Going Dinosaurs, which is also a lot of fun. Again, I had never put out a comedy or like a good feeling book until Theater 7, so we'll get into that. But when I put out BGD, I was like, man, people are digging the anthropomorphic stories we're doing, and as kids, we grew up with stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Street Sharks, The Mighty Ducks, all these great anthro stories, and I think as much as people thought we got away from it, it was big in comic culture. We had Dinosaurs for Hire, which was a great series back in the day as well. There were a lot of really, really cool books out there and shows and movies but I think the further we got away from them, people decided they didn't want it to be part of their culture, or they didn't like this and they didn't like that. And it became this, it no longer was anthropomorphic stories. It was like, we hate furry type of thing. And I was going to write and put out what I enjoy. You know what I mean? Stereotypes be damned. So when we put out BGD, and people got real into it. Like BGD did super well for both issues that have been out so far. And that's when I was like, man, what other things do I enjoy? I was like, I'm a big fan of Lola Bunny. I'm a big fan of Jessica Rabbit. I really enjoyed Sing. I enjoyed Zootopia. And I was like, man, I'm going to write a big kids, anthro story without people in it. That's the biggest difference between BGD and If It Hops, is there's no humans in If It Hops versus there are humans in BGD.
Yeah, and let's even talk about that, because obviously when I think of no humans in a story, I think of a book like Cat Shit 1, that Antarctic Press put out. I think of a book like Mouse that has been put out.
For sure, Mouse is great.
Two really traditional anthropomorphic stories.
Mm-hmm.
But, obviously Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has a hybrid. And so what was that like in making that decision? Because this is almost true to the nature of what anthropomorphic is supposed to be, I feel. and the original component of it, from my understanding at least.
I think that we have, as the industry has grown, I feel like pigeonholing anything is not a good idea. Like, because you can have these badass stories, and if you're scared to put them out, or you don't want to move them in a direction because you think they push the envelope, or break the mold, that's the only way we get anywhere. You know what I mean? I mean, literally, it's the only way we move forward and evolve in storytelling, or anything for that matter, is to press the envelope and do something that's not normally done. I think that with If It Hops, it is more so a, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's not traditional, but at the same time, it's not like, when you start talking about traditional, you start talking like Omaha the Cat Dancer, you're talking Bucky O'Hare, all that jazz, and it's not really any different to me. You know what I mean? The art has evolved because it's 40 years later than most anthropomorphic books were. You know what I mean? Um, but people are doing them now, and people are digging them. So if I keep, if I can stay ahead of the curve and keep putting out stories that people aren't used to getting, and like you said, my stuff's very dark. So you get these beautiful characters, but you get these gory ass scenes. And one of the best compliments, and I'll say it to this day because I'm a huge Devin Massey fan, and he's on our team now. And the fact that when he read BGD, he was like, "Dude, I couldn't believe that halfway through it, I forgot it was dinosaurs. Like, it was like I was reading normal people." And that's the difference that I'm trying to do with our books, because I've got guys coming out of the woodwork and girls coming out of the woodwork talking about being 30 and 40 years old and being angry with me that I'm turning them into furries, and that's a joke with me, because I'm not into that whole bag and calling it that. If you enjoy the stories, you enjoy the stories. It doesn't put a sexual label on you for what the story you're getting, and you enjoy looking at it. Not that I'm against it either. I mean, I'm down for whatever, for anybody's happiness. You know what I mean? If they dig it, they dig it. I
So,
have a
so,
good
so
time.
let's go into this a little bit. Where one of the things that you said that's actually super interesting is that you have anthropomorphic characters, but then people with babes, goras, and dinosaurs, that people forget that they're dinosaurs,
Mm,
for instance. And obviously, what is that like? Because that's really evolving, and that's going beyond what the character looks like on the outside.
for
And not,
sure.
not not to sound corny or anything, and not to go with the idea that beauty is on the inside.
For
That's
sure.
not where I'm going with
No,
this. Let's
no.
just say, and not
Um,
being a cliche, but what is that like? Because that really dives deep into the character, and I think it's something that people really now are looking at. Their
Absolutely.
aesthetics are nice, and believe me, I love bad girl art. I got a feeling you enjoy bad girl art to some degree
Yeah,
as
for
well.
sure, for sure. But
But
I
what is,
I am I'm avidly against people just buying books for covers. I love our cover artists. I love our teams. I think we do beautiful covers. You know what I mean? But I want you to come in and just and not just pick up the cover. I want you to pick up a copy of the book and enjoy it. Pick up these characters and enjoy these characters. And when it comes to me, I won't, like, I'm an avid reader. I've been reading comics and novels since I could was knee high. And you get to this point where if it doesn't feel real to you, it's not going to feel real to the reader. So if I create a character like I'm not going to get into agency with this, but if I create a character, let's say Maya from BGD, like, Maya is a human female that hangs out in, that is the maitre d' of a gentleman's club full of dinosaur chicks dancing and stuff. You know what I mean? And you look at these characters and you have to make them real. You have to make them believable. They're the things in their lives that have created them. Dude, I have pages and pages and pages and pages of these characters and what makes them react to certain stimulus. And that's so important, because if I don't believe it, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to want to read it if I don't want to read it. And I feel like if we can get you involved with characters, I've been doing that since The Listener. If I can get you feeling for the characters, then it's like that's the selling point right there. If you're invested and you want to know what happens next, In the industry, you call it the page turn. When you get to the bottom of the right-hand page, you want to know what happens on the next one. But if you can do that with a character, that's my goal. I'm grateful that I've never had an issue with the page turn itself. So I've tried to evolve it to where you want to know more about so-and-so and so-and-so and what's going on with them and why they exist, what's going on in their worlds, not just your main group of characters. I don't know, man. It's my wheelhouse. That's my game. I enjoy being there.
Yeah, and to even further dive into that, because obviously we got Agent C going on in Eden City, and she's one of the top operatives who basically put a criminal away and a serial killer, and then the serial killer escapes, and now she's back on the hunt for that serial killer, and her vacation is cut short. And obviously, poor her. Really tough break for her.
Absolutely.
But what was this like? Because this really creates a very interesting scenario where I don't want to use the term, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I know it's a pun. And I think you know what I'm going to say, but it's almost cat and mouse.
It is. And it's a good one for many, many reasons. But when it came to C, I created a entire lore set of stories for If It Hops, and they'll drop later, and you guys will get to see them. But she hasn't been an agent very long, so she survives the Squirrel Wars or the Squirrel Riots. She survived the riots, gets the biggest serial killer, puts him away, but it wasn't even on purpose. It was like a happenstance that she caught the guy, so she's like freaking out now that he's out, like they want me to get him again. And I don't know if I can get him again. So you have a couple other operatives that we introduced in the story, but this is her introduction, this particular issue, what she's got going on with this dude. I'm also not one of those guys that wants to give you a villain that you kill in a day. I'm not a big fan of that. So my villains tend to last, like overarching stories. And because what's so much fun about comic books, it used to be anyway, not so much anymore, but it used to be, you'd get great arcs that lasted. You'd wonder when the Sinister Six was going to show up again. You know what I mean? And those are things that I like to work with in all our books. So you're definitely going to see the Jackal a little bit in issue 1 and figure out what's going on with him. But it's so much deeper than that. It's like a real mind, if you will, down the rabbit hole. So
to even go into this, because it creates a boatload of opportunities to happen where obviously you have a new agent who got lucky capturing a top serial killer, and obviously it projected her career up and put her on a fast tracking ranking type of career. And now he's out. I think the Jackal's a he, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot going on, but yeah, the Jackal is a he. That particular character is a he, yes.
And so now all of a sudden, well, obviously the Jackal is probably pissed off that he was in prison. I think anybody would be pissed they're in prison.
He's got a weird agenda. He's got a really weird agenda that's very different from what you would expect. I'll say that much. For whatever you think, I promise you're not on it. I promise. But it's a very interesting concept for this character because he's very intelligent. He's very methodical, but at the same time, he's this slavering lunatic. You know what I mean? Like he's all our characters.
I'm going to drop a code. I'm going to drop a code for you, and then some people will get the code. Richard Wheatley. I don't know if that code it rings a bell.
There's a lot going on with him. You know what I mean? And it's fun because with the character, this is a brand new world, right? So you have the opportunity to create these lasting stories and these lasting feelings for these characters. So he's not just like out there knocking people off. You know what I mean? There's so much more to it than that, than just, oh yeah, well, I hate my neighbor, so I'm gonna take him out. You know what I mean? That's a little cliche. So, but there's so much more to the character and what he's doing, what he's involved in, who he's involved with. You know, there's But you have to remember, you're talking about a full city, like a large scale city. So you're not just talking about one bad guy. There's all kinds of bad guys, and if it hops, man,
And then it also raises other questions because naturally, and there's no unity among bad guys, or some bad guys work with each other and
for
some
sure,
don't. Some want to slight each other. And then,
right?
it goes to the idea that if Agent C is trying to get the Jackal, who knows what type of deal she's going to make with another villainous group to
For
catch
sure.
her man, for lack of a
Yeah,
better word.
there's a so she. I'll say this: C is as innocent as they come. She is the epitome of pure as snow that you didn't pee on and make it yellow. You know what I mean? She's a great character, and if there were ever any like shenanigans, she wouldn't be involved. Like she is that officer. Like everything is dot the I's, cross the T's, you know. But then you guys meet Agent K later, and Agent K is a lioness. You guys should get her. You guys will get. I'm sure we'll get there. You'll get the her first appearance in this issue as well. And she's the brawn. You know what I mean? She's this hulking lioness, you know. But her thing is she's super like tough and beefy and whatnot. But at the same time, she's like when she's around her significant other, she's this sweet, innocent. You would think that she was the size of a mouse. You know what I mean? Because she's aware of how large she is, so she tries to be, you know, soft and gentle around this other individual. So yeah,
Because the point I'm getting at is that there's a lot of stuff in play, and there's a lot of gears being grinded in a lot of different
absolutely.
ways. And you don't know what is being turned where exactly.
Well, if
There's
you
a
could
reason
figure
why
it
I
out in
feel
book
over.
one, it would be boring. Like it would not even be interesting. If you can figure it all out by book four, it's not going to be any fun. You know what I mean? So it's like my thing is, when I started writing, I had to realize that I had to lie to my own characters, and I think that's integral. And I don't think people quite understand what I mean. When you put out a book, like I said, the characters have to be believable. So if somebody says something untrue to another character in a comic book, and that character's response has to be believable to what they've been given, the information they've been told. And I think it's integral to make sure that we do that, you know. So that was a big thing for me. Make it, you know, as tricking your own characters because they have no idea. It's like if you've ever DM'd a tabletop RPG, you're literally trying to trick your own players into this and that. And so I view writing comics the same way. You know, I literally have to fool my characters.
Yeah, because it's very tricky, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I am getting relatively frustrated with comics in general right now,
Yeah,
and it's both on the mainstream and on the indie level, where I'm getting to the point where it's like it's very predictable. I can predict what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, where something's going to take a turn, and
absolutely.
it's 50-50. And so I'm at the stage where I want something that is not predictable. And that's something I think people are forgetting, that you need to make your characters and what you're doing unpredictable, or you need to say, hey, look, this is what it is on the box. I'm in the middle of watching Dragon Ball, and I know exactly what's on the box in Dragon Ball. As an
Yeah,
actor.
I mean, and that's another, you know, that's another thing altogether. When you look at the industry itself as a whole, there's a ton of stuff. And I'll say this: I had somebody come up to me, and it was a really cool compliment. They were like, you know, there are a ton of creators, but only a handful of people in the indie industry. I don't know if you catch my drift on what I mean by that, but it's like, you know,
Explain what you mean, because I know what you mean, but
so
there's
when
people who don't know what you mean.
there are people that treat the indie industry as a hobby, which is fine. There are people that treat it as a weekend job, which is fine. You know, but when you start seeing your BDIs, your Coffin Comics, which I'm grateful because we've been compared to both and we run with both, so it's a really cool thing that you know we have artists that work back and forth between all these companies, and the trust that goes into that you know, and the folks that work together. It says a lot when you come into this industry, who your art teams are, you know, who publishes with you, you know, all these different nuances to it. But there are a billion publishers. So you have to find and sift through to get what you're looking for, you know, and I don't think that's ever going to change. It bubbled in the 90s. It's bubbling again now, but
It's been bubbling for a while. I mean,
right, for sure. Absolutely.
I'm on the opposite side of this trade where I'm in this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm well aware.
Yeah, it's definitely like a thing where, you know, like I put out a book every 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks, you get a Kickstarter from us. 9 times out of 10, the book is already done when it goes to Kickstarter. It's already done. So you're getting the book within. It takes 2 weeks for them to. So, have you ever ordered through Diamond?
Not directly. No.
Okay. So when you order through Diamond, you order months in advance. Okay.
Oh, I've done previews.
Right. Yeah. So you order through previews. It's months in advance, right?
Yes.
So that's how I do it. I not 6 months, 7 months. I look at it like this. My book's already done when the Kickstarter starts. Okay. And if it's not done by then, it's done by the time the campaign's over. Because I use my own money. I've already paid off all these projects when we go to Kickstarter. So when it comes to it, we run a 3-week campaign, 21 days. Okay. Depending on the month. But it's, you know, 21 days, 22 at the longest. And then it takes up 2 weeks for them to get the funds to me. So now you're making it 5 weeks. That's not something I can control. That's 5 weeks. Okay. So then say it takes 2 weeks to print. That's 7 weeks, you know, then a week to get it to you. That's 8 weeks. By the time it gets to you, we're already running another campaign. So you're already seeing the next book coming out. Like Theater 7 right now is on its preview campaign. When the book comes out, you'll have had the preview for a couple weeks. So you can decide if you enjoy Theater 7 or not before you invest in Theater 7.
This is what I was about to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is one of my problems that I have. Mm-hmm. So I don't have an issue where I am not thrilled, but I get it's business, where if you are running a campaign and that, you know, your first book isn't out, but you're running a different series, I'm okay with that.
That's another animal. I can't even.
So I'll explain what I mean. I have a big problem when I didn't get issue 1 and you're running a campaign for issue 2. Because I don't know if I like issue 1. That's my problem.
Absolutely. And but see, that's something, and that's another. I don't get into those kind of conversations because I can't speak on them, because I don't have those problems. You know what I mean? Like I said, my books are already done. So when you come in, if you go to my Kickstarter right now, you go to If It Hops, you click on my name, you can see when I put out books, when the next book came out. Everybody's got all their stuff, and that's very important to me to keep it that way. And even if stuff happens and stuff gets messed up in shipping or whatever, we take care of it. So yeah, man, I don't know. I see that a lot. It's one of the biggest complaints with Kickstarter, but I don't.
It makes. I'll tell you how it makes me feel. It makes me feel that when it's issue 1 and then it's issue 2, I have a problem. Because it makes me say, look, I don't know if I like issue 1, and $20, you know, I worked my ass off for $20.
Absolutely.
And somebody might be, oh, it's only $20, or even if it's $10. Well, you know, I don't know if I like issue 1 yet.
Right.
So why don't you give me issue 1? And also, I don't know how you're going to ship it to me. That's the other thing too. In which that I don't know what it's going to look like on paper. There's a million questions. But I also, and then when it's another project, I'm like, you're diverting your time away from this project. And that's how I feel. And so as an individual, you know, and as a consumer, not even as somebody who's done it, but I understand that there's real money to be made, that this is people's businesses or their projects, or it's a side hustle. And I'm not trying to steal money away from anybody, but at the same time, as the consumer, I'm like, this project that I backed isn't your number one priority now.
But you should feel that way. You should feel that way. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. I have 37 people on my team. 37 people that get paid every month or every other month. Okay. people that work for Disney, people that work for Marvel, people that work for DC, people that work for Coffin, people that work for BDI, people that work for just about any Patriot, you name it. There are folks from all over the place that we work with, and they wouldn't work with us if they weren't comfortable and they didn't think the product would go out. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. I mean, Zenoscope teams that work with us, there's a lot going on, but again, it's all based on who you're buying from, how you're buying. Like me, I don't give a shit if it's $5 or $50. If I paid you for it, I want it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is. If we had a verbal agreement or even a written agreement that says I'm going to get something, well, I want my something by the date that you said you were going to give me my something. Unless something happens and then you reach out to me and tell me, hey, Dustin, something happened. I'm like, cool, man. I'm real sorry that happened. Hit me up in the next couple of weeks. Let me know. Keep me in the loop. But that's the issue with the indie culture right now is a lot of folks have never had a business, owned a business, or even worked in customer service. So you're looking at people that haven't had experience in dealing with a customer directly, and they have no idea how to do that, which is a skill. I don't care what anybody says. It's a skill in itself. But that being said, I get that may not be my main project or that may not be this, but at the same time, depending on how your team is or how large your team is, I have other writers in Ethereal other than myself. You know what I mean? So there's other writers, there's other artists, there's other interior artists. Like I said, there's 37 people that work with us. You know what I mean? There's always something moving, and it's something that we take pride in. We take pride in getting you the product early more than anything else. Because like I said, the book's already done. So when I get it and I'm happy with it and the money comes in from, Kickstarter, it's immediately going to print. So you don't ever have to wait for your product. And that speaks volumes because of the way that the indie industry is. I wish it didn't have to speak volumes, but it does. You know what I mean?
It's the idea that I think people don't understand the concept where that is almost like seed money for a startup in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
Compared to. And I mean, obviously, I started my eBay business in the way where I treated it like a startup. And then it's obviously evolved and grown from that point. But it's very complicated. I think a lot of people don't understand this. And I think a lot of people don't understand the 2 magic words or the 3 magic words, which is I'm sorry. I'm sorry goes a long way. If you're 6 months later and you say, hey, I'm sorry, guys. This is my first one, and I don't know what I'm doing. My bad. You're going to get your books. I'm working my ass off to do it. I'm not going to be angry as much,
Yeah, as long as you reach out to folks, I think that's different. Thankfully, I haven't had too many issues with that. Like I said, there's certain things I can't speak on because I haven't dealt with them personally. But this is not a lot. I dislike the whole get rich quick thing because it's not. It's no way, shape, or form get rich quick. The issue of If It Hops right now that's live was $7,000 in production. So you look at things like BGD being 5,000 to 7,000. All my books range in that price. So every month, that amount of money is going toward a book in production. And if I'm putting that kind of money out, I'm going to make sure you get the product that you pay for. So right now, if you pick up our books and you put it in your hand, I think I have one in front of me. I'm not going to show the cover for this book. So anyway, this is a copy of Greed.
Are you not? Let me ask you a question before you continue. Are you not showing it because it's a bad cover?
Absolutely. So anyway, the cover of this book is not one that needs to be shown. But the fact is, our books are all cardstock. And that's very important to me. Not just the front cover, everything in the book, the entire book is cardstock. You can sit my book up on a table in front of you and it will stand. It's part of when you create something, it needs to be worth what people are paying for it. You mentioned earlier $20 for a Kickstarter book, an indie book. We only charge $14.99 for regular covers, which blows people's mind. Yeah, you can make so much more. It's not what it's about. It's about a constant stream and creating a fan base, And if people can afford your book, they're more likely to buy it than you trying to make $20, $25 off of it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can get cover A and all the normal covers for $14.99 a piece in a book that is 24 pages full color that is cardstock, you're going to do it over newspaper stock. You know what I mean? It's just there's a lot to it, man. There's a lot to look at in the industry itself. But yeah, that's
it's beyond complicated. And I used to have a printer company as a sponsor, and so I'm
yeah,
well aware of
for sure.
all the jam and everything that goes on with it. And I've never produced a book, so I can't speak on producing a book and all that stuff. But when you understand and have a printing company as your sponsor, you learn certain traits and things about the
Yeah,
industry that is
absolutely.
rather helpful. It's going to be helpful in the long run. But also, I mean, I'm a business where the cheaper I can get an item, the more I can pass it on to my, buyers. And
For
so, I
sure.
mean, in my eBay business, I have to be priced at a certain point because I buy at a certain point. But if I can get that
Absolutely.
down 50%, I'll sell traditionally, if I can get a book for $10 and it's a $20 book, I'll sell it for 30 because I'm making the exact same profit margin, but I'll buy 3 of the book instead of 2. And then I'll make even more money because I'm passing on the savings.
Right. That's a regular business mindset. When you start looking at sales not by the hundreds but by the thousands, you start looking at a different way. Like right now, like I said, I could price match indie books and go in and be like, oh, my book's $25 and $30 to start. I could do that. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. I think that it's one of those things where I want the product out and I want it in your hand because in the long run, it serves me more to have people that enjoy my books than the dollar in my pocket at that point in time. Mind you, that mindset has gotten me uh, by the beginning of next year, 13 running books and 3 different businesses in 18 months. You know what I mean? It all revolves around the fan, and people don't understand that in this industry. It's your fans are so important. They're the lifeblood of your business. If you're good to them and you give them good product and you give them good stories, they come back. You treat them, and it can sound as cliche as it needs to be, but if you treat them the way that you'd like to be treated, they come back. You know,
There's a reason why my shipping on eBay, it's $10 to $11 when I'm shipping out a book, but it
yeah,
comes bubble wrapped, it's Gemini, it's insured,
there
and
you
then
go.
also, I mean, you could say I'm a little bit pricey, but guess what? Your book arrives perfectly, and when you're spending
For sure.
60, 70, $80 or $200 on a book, you
Hmm.
better damn be sure that if a truck runs over it, that book is safe.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so everybody who understands it, especially when you go up into that upper echelon, deals with that. And obviously, my entire business is based on exclusivity. So I sell
Yeah,
a lot of limited 200 print runs of a book
for
or a
sure.
100 print run book. And so
Absolutely.
clearly, that's why people come back to me every single month because I pack a book correctly. And that's
Absolutely.
my biggest complaint in the industry is I want my book to arrive safely, and I'll spend an extra $5 to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure that my book is safe. Because guess what? I don't want you to reship me my book. I
Right.
want you to do it once. You only
Right.
need to do it once if you do
Right.
it correct.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's how it should be. You know what I mean? There should never be any issues like that. There's another big issue with shipping is people shipping media mail, which is bullshit. Don't ship media mail. It's I mean, but there you're never going to get everybody on the same page like that. There's never going to be and I get people to ask all the time, how do you do this? How do you get to where you are? And it's like, cool, look, there's no 1, 2, 3 step program to get where you need to be. A lot of people, and that goes for art, that goes to storytelling, that goes to anything. There's never a direct, this is the way. We're not in Star Wars. We don't get to be like, this is the way. And it's as much as you would like to give people advice on what to do and what not to do, there is always going to be a variable. You know what I mean? Like every individual breaks the mold. Whether that particular saying works or not, the fact is each person is going to do it their own way, regardless of what you tell them or how you direct them into how they do it. I can't write down 10 steps and tell you to do it and you'll get here, because you won't, because you're going to deviate in certain places. There's going to be factors that change your opinions or thought processes. Because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah, very much so. And podcasting is no different, where there is a bunch of different things and a bunch of different philosophies. And I've heard almost every single one. And and people make valid arguments on both sides of the aisle.
Right. Yeah.
On
for sure.
The two philosophies. And so it's super fascinating. But you mentioned something where obviously this book has a preview of Theater 7.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what is that theory? Because that is building an audience. And that is a fascinating concept, to give a preview of a book that you're going to be kickstarting eventually, so that people can sort of get a feel for it.
For sure. So I'm playing toward the speculative market with that as well. You know what I mean? In a way, not that I'm like betting on the speculative market, but at the same time, when you look at things, people will be like, "Oh, what's that character's first appearance?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, it's a preview that came out 8 months ago." You know what I mean? Are you selling that preview anymore? No, they're limited. I'm not printing them again. So let's say like Theater 7, say there's 150 copies of it printed. Now, we're building a like a fan base system for anything we put out, because I do a lot of LE, like so much LE stuff, it's ridiculous. Pillowcases, like we do seasonal pillowcases, okay? So and they do really well. So it's whatever, you know what I mean? That's not even a really, really well, like really, really well. Like, so it's but like we did 3 to start to see if people would be into it, and then they did really well, so we vault them. Okay, so if you missed out, I'm sorry, but the next season comes out and there'll be 3 new pillowcases for the next season. But if you're part of the, have been buying from us for X amount of time, like I keep a spreadsheet. It's a lot of work, but I keep up with all of it. Who buys what, how much money they spend, all that jazz. So then I open the vault for people that have been buying from us for so long. And I'm like, hey, I may have an extra couple of these if you're interested in getting that first appearance or getting this or getting that. I have it. You know what I mean? Because when you look at the issues when they drop, the number ones, you're getting the same thing, but you're getting the additional pages. For the preview is 8 pages out of the book. So then you're getting the rest of the book when the actual book itself drops. So it's different, but it's the same in a way. But you try telling a comic book collector it's the same thing. You know what I mean? They're not going to agree with you.
It's almost like an insert type thing in a lot of ways, or it's additional content.
It is full size. It is not a ash can.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. But I have to say that because there are people that they call it a preview, and it's an ash can when it comes out, and it's this damn big, and it's not a comic book when it comes to you. You know what I mean? So I've never wanted people to assume that. So it is a full size book that you get, when you get the previews. But Theater 7, man, is super fun. It's the interior art's done by Devin Massey, who does Cave Woman. He's thrilled with it. He's excited. I'm excited that he's excited because he's incredibly talented dude to begin with, so.
And so to even talk about this, and then we're going to dive into Theater 7, because one of the things also it does is that it says, hey, this is what I'm doing as a company.
Right.
It also gives, I guess, a test as well, where if all of a sudden people are like, this is horrible, you don't want anything of it, it gives you an inclination of how people are going to react to it. Or if you're like, oh my God, I want more of this. It gives you data points. And this is something that people don't understand, that data science is a fascinating entity.
Absolutely.
I am not a data scientist. And I don't know if you're being facetious or not, but
no, I was not a numbers guy until I started this. Then it was like, I need to know what's happening here. what kind of books are moving over here, what kind of numbers are people looking at over there. When we did If It Hops, the preview alone, my 8-page preview, I did $3,700 in pre-orders for If It Hops, the 8-page preview. If It Hops right now has done, I think it's 9,600 right now in 3 days in pre-orders. And I'm thrilled with it. I'm thrilled people are excited about it. But those numbers are very important. If the book had not sold very many previews, I would have not put so many eggs into the basket. You know what I mean? I would have still done it and we'd have still had a good time. The book would have sold well, but it would not have become what it is now. Like I can't get on Facebook anymore or Instagram without seeing it somewhere. And I think that's amazing. Like it had me goosebumps the other day when I got on, and we get fan art, you know what I'm saying? But it's normally not from pros. When you get fan art, it's normally fans that are doing art, which is great and they're beautiful. And I keep all that shit. If anybody's ever wondering, I keep all the fan art because I love looking at it. But there's something special when pros are sending you fan art and they're like, man, I was doodling the other day and I was warming up and I was thinking about your book, you know, and that's epic, man. It's epic. So yeah, no, I'm about it. I'm about the previews. I'm about the marketing with that because like I said, when you get the preview, you're like, well, there's been a book between the preview. There's always a book between the preview and the actual book's release. Okay. So there's always going to be a book in between. But when you get it, it's like you've got a few weeks to read it, and then the book is dropping. So it's fresh in your mind, this issue that's coming out in the next few weeks. So there's always a method to the madness of my marketing, you know.
There's a method on how I buy comics and when
Absolutely.
I when I don't. And I could tell you from just a pinpoint, looking at certain live streams and certain companies like Cinescope, they do a lot of live streams.
Mhm.
I know what covers and what they're going to sell before
Absolutely.
it even drops, in which it is a science and it is a methodology, and it is the closest thing that I could think of is that it's like bar science, where
For sure.
once you understand it, you cannot not understand it.
Right. Yeah, you're in, dude. Like it's like a club. Like you're a card carrying member once you get it. You know, like no one can kick you out. You're in there for life. You know.
And there's going to be a bunch more card carrying members in the next possibly 8 months after I drop my class to teach people how to invest in comic books. So
there you
you
go.
heard it here first, everybody. You heard it here first.
That's right.
I'm just saying, guys, if you want to learn how to do it, more than happy to teach anybody who wants to learn how to do it for a lot of money, of course. But anyway, hey, the class is going to be like $100. It's going to be like 20 hours.
Right. That's worth it to me, man.
I'm going to actually give on like the first 2 weeks, like 80 to 90% off.
Yeah, no, that's dope, dude.
You take my class for like $10 pretty much. And if I get into New York Comic Con, then I want to do my panel. I'm going to throw it out here. I will do 90% off when I'm at New York Comic Con.
There you go.
So anybody who can do it. If you can't afford $10, you know what it is? You should contact me with that 90% off, and we'll work something.
I'll teach you how to make that $10.
I'm just saying that if you can't afford $10, you got a bigger problem, and you should come talk to me in October at that point. And I'm sure something could be worked out.
For sure.
But this is because I don't want to exclude anybody, but to even go further, and obviously this is coming, and then you have Devin Massey working on it, and I ordered a Cave Woman off of Midtown Comics.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan. I've been a Cave Woman fan for probably 15 years now, and
I know nothing about it.
Great book. Bud Root's an incredible human being. He's a great person, and Devin's amazing. Emerald Entertainment, all those guys are great. But yeah, Theater 7, man, that's the it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I think people are going to really vibe with it. Like I mentioned, it's my first comedy. I've never written a comedy before. And thanks Steph Williams for that, or Wilson for that. Sorry, Williams, Jesus. Steph is a good friend of mine, and he was like, you write all this scary stuff and you write all this gory stuff. You need to give us something funny. I know you can do it. And I was like, whatever, I'm not writing anything funny. It's not going to work for me. And then I was talking to Devin, and because he was doing covers for BGD. And if you guys don't know Devin is like one of those dudes that is, when you call people a pro, it's because they're a pro. Like, they're a real pro. The guy draws women and dinosaurs like nobody's business. So I was like, well, I'm a big fan. I need him on BGE, and we got to talking one night, and I was like, I'm going to write a book for you, like specifically for you. And we started talking, and Theater 7 just started popping up, man. And it was like, it's about a girl named Penny. She's really sweet and really fun. In the 90s, she's a college student, lives at home with mom and dad while she's going to school. So you're seeing lots of 90s references, band shirts, Jinko jeans, you name it, and um, she's a big movie buff, like a huge movie buff. So she gets this job at this refurbished old theater that is, this elderly couple has reopened, and she starts managing that for them. And there's not a lot of employees, so it's because it's only one theater. It's not a whole ton of theaters, you know what I mean? So she finds out that the theater has its own plans for her, and in the very first, well, you'll see it more in the second issue, but she starts finding tickets around the theater, and they pull her into films. And to get back to her world, she has to accomplish a goal once she's in there, but she has no idea what the goal is. Like the first film, Return to the Future, she has to keep Artie McSkeeto from sleeping with his mom. If she keeps Artie from sleeping with his mom, she gets to go back home. You know what I mean? So, and there are numerous ways she could make that happen. So we'll see how she does it. But like I said, if you're a fan of Cave Woman and Devin's slapstick humor, it's great stuff. He's got awesome humor, so he's putting all that into the book. I think people enjoy it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going on with that, and
For sure.
I'm not gonna dive too deep into it because that's not out there.
Right.
Obviously, if it hops is going on, and agency's got her hands full, or not her hands, her paws.
That's one thing that we went back and forth with, right? That a lot of people ask us about. The digigrade.
I was just telling a joke, but that's okay.
No, you're good. It's a great way to lead into the conversation, because we did digigrade feet for the characters. Like, I was like, she's a bunny chick. She doesn't need to be wearing boots. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense for her to have human feet. So we ran with the digigrade so that she has the inverted knees and all that jazz. You'll see the rhinos. They do the same thing. All the characters have the as true to as possible physical features as the actual animals that they're based on, with the exception of hands and their mouths. Most of them are pretty well anatomically correct. But yeah, so I couldn't have them like shooting guns with no fingers and shit. And I was like, that's not going to work. It's going to look silly. I just, and I think that there's a lot of movies that do it well and a lot of series that do it well, but then there's a lot that don't. Like in Zootopia, you didn't see them like firing weapons really at all. There was never any real like cop action with pistols or, shotguns or anything like that.
You have to remember, it was a kid's movie, man.
For sure. For sure. I'm a big kid though. So, but then when you look at like Sing, they actually had hands in that film. They didn't have the whole paw thing in that movie. So I was like, you know what? Let's run with the hands because it makes more sense for the things we've got going on. And that goes hand in hand with with the first panel we ever put out that got attention for the book, and that was C singing in the shower. It's the very first page in the book, and it blew up. Like I put it out one day, and next day people are beating me up. What is that book? What are you putting out? What's going on? Because people had been reading BGD, and people enjoy BGD a lot. So I definitely think this is going to do well. I think If It Hops is showing us that perseverance, talent, the people you surround yourselves with, those are the things that help you get in this industry and move forward. But I get asked a lot by people about the book and how it's succeeding, and it's because of those things. It's like I said, there's 37 people that work with us. It doesn't succeed because one dude goes, "That's going to be great." It succeeds because all these people give a shit about your product. You know what I mean? They all the team members are team members because they give a shit about what we put out. Their hearts in these products, their hearts in these covers, down to your letterer. You know what I mean? They enjoy the books. They want it to succeed. And I think that's integral, especially with If It Hops, because If It Hops was a book where when we started putting it together, I didn't know how well it would do. I was honestly terrified because I'd never, even with the success of BGD, you still had human characters in BGD. You still had that element. So again, I had to learn how to create a character that you could look past the floppy ears. You know what I mean? And I think we've succeeded. Honestly, I think it's doing really well.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I mean, I'm a little bit shocked that you're like 3 days in and you're like, holy shit. Like, I mean, and that's just me as a spectator looking.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's super fascinating in that realm. But I do want to jump into rewards a little bit because you got a bunch of stuff going on. Obviously, you get it digital. You get If It Hops digital. You get the preview digital. You get them both digitally.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a bunch of covers that are out there. And I have pictures because I'm lazy. So that's the Steph Wilson cover. I couldn't find the I couldn't get cover A, which is Bladen's.
Oh yeah, Bladen's cover. We just added it like today because he does all the interior art, and like I said, everybody takes a lot of pride in what they put out. So he was like, "I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with it." And then when he was done, I was like, "Okay." And mind you, because of the people that we use, you have to be generally on a schedule to get these people to work on your stuff, because they're busy. They have shit going on. But it was like I hit Gwen up and she was like, "I'm gonna knock it out. I cannot wait to do this cover." So it's on the Kickstarter now. The colored cover is on there now. But it's great. He's a good dude.
And you got Steph's cover, and that's Greg Watson's cover. Yeah. This is Steph Wilson's cover. This is the only one I can show, and that's referencing Bond.
It is. Yep, absolutely. He always has great ideas. I don't even interject with him. You know what I mean? He just does his own thing. I love it. Run with it.
And then Gregor's been on. And This is Gregor Watson's cover.
Yep. Also colored by Gwen. So beautiful cover for sure.
And this is another one.
Oh yeah, Gabriel's cover. Love that. He's an incredible artist. He also works for heavy metal. Really, really good dude.
Then another one that's out there.
Sean Forney. Yeah. That one came out really, really cool too. Sean's a great guy as well. He works at Counterpoint as well.
And then there's this one as well.
Oh, the Iris's cover. Yeah, for sure.
And then obviously that's Trevor Grace.
The Hop-In cover, yeah.
And then I think that's up there too.
Yeah, the Ruben cover is really, really good. Colored by Sanju, he's incredible colorist. So that's
Sanju's been on. He's been on my show.
Love it. He's a great dude.
And then there's this one, JT Malroy.
Oh yeah, Malloy's great, man. He's got a book out called Sapphire Spectre. Sorry, it's also a great book. And
then this one's cool. I don't know who April Rana is.
April Rana, she's an incredible artist. She's been working with me since my second book. Absolutely stunning, super great individual. Puts out incredible work.
And then on the flip side, we also have Theater 7 stuff.
The Theater 7 covers for sure. Yeah, Devin's is great. That's with Gwen being colored right now.
And then there's this one.
Sean, yeah. That's a good one too.
And,
Oh, yeah, there's Bladen's cover for that one.
And so obviously there's a lot of stuff, and these are only some of them. In which you have a bunch, and I think you added a bunch more, and you also have the wild versions.
Oh yeah. We don't say NSFW because that shit's tacky. You know, I hate hearing, "Oh, you got that NSFW cover," and I'm no, shut up. I don't have NSFW. I hate that term, man. Because
and so I don't want to get in trouble. I'm already in enough trouble on YouTube. I like being on Facebook.
Yeah,
I like streaming on YouTube.
absolutely.
I had a video actually taken off of YouTube that which was Ricky Calorino Double Impact, fully clothed. YouTube was not happy with it. I'm like, this isn't that bad. Like, of all the things I could show, right?
I love Double Impact. That's a great book.
And so I was like, of all the things that could be shown, you guys are upset about this cover.
Right,
like,
right, for sure.
But what is this like to really give a lot of choice? Because it gets tricky, I feel. And again, this is my perspective.
Yeah,
where
for sure.
When you start printing covers, you have to print a certain amount of them. And then furthermore, it gets tricky because, well, if only one person buys it, you know, obviously that gets tricky. And then you're also outlaying money for artwork. And so how do you figure out the right mixture for how many covers you need? Because
I don't have that. I don't have that problem. I print how many I want to print. I don't have a number that I have to print or I'm required to print. So I never have like a shit ton of XX stock. I have a website, like a really nice website, so you guys can always go in and buy books. And I keep enough for that. I always have enough for my website. But other than that, no, I never have any stock. Like I never spend $1,000, $2,000 on extra shit that I don't need, you know. But when it comes to covers, I'm always been that guy that I want you to read the book. I really, really want you to read the book. But at the same time, I've been in comics for a while now, from owning my own shop to, you know, selling stuff and buying mass collections and all this other jazz. But I always want people to have a choice. Like if I have a collection and I'm flipping through it and I'm like, oh, I love all these covers, then I get to this shit cover, I'm like, that ruins my entire like flip through thing. I don't know how you do it, but I like to go through every now and then and look at books. And if I'm going through and I'm going through a full run and I'm like, oh, that's ass. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I don't want that nonsense. So I like to give folks the opportunity to find a cover that they enjoy, you know, and I'm like, we also, you know, there's tiers in there so you can buy one to read and one to put away, you know what I mean? Because that's how I collect as well. You know, I always have to have a reader of whatever I'm picking up. And I think that it's important to give people the opportunity. You know, I read once where somebody was like, I don't like getting confused when there's a lot of different tiers. I don't know what to pick from. And that's okay. You know, and it's okay to be, you know, like, oh, I don't know, or I don't, you know what I mean? I am always available. That's one thing that I like people to know and understand. If you send me a message on Kickstarter, you're going to get answered within the first couple minutes of you sending it. Because once again, I work with so many people that I'm up all hours of the night and I have no qualms, you know, talking to people. That goes back to customer service. You know, how you react to people and stimuli and how you fix situations. So if you're like, man, I only want Devin Massey's covers, right? We didn't do it for this one, I don't think, but for most of our campaigns, we do highlights or spotlights. So I'll spotlight Blade and Hunter and I'll have all Blade and Hunter stuff in one tier. You know, if that's who you like to buy, his stuff is right here and you get a deal because you're buying this, this, and this at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Kickstarter's UI has done nothing but get better since its, you know, outset. You know what I mean? It's getting so much better. So when you go in, now you have a shopping cart in your Kickstarter, which is great. You know, you can pick the add-ons you want, how you want them, what you want with them, you know, and I think that's awesome. So I think that alleviates the confusion, because the descriptions are all there. You get to look through it. You don't have to be rushed. You can take your time, you know, and it looks good on the mobile app too now, you know, so you can really get in there and see what you're looking at. So no, it's all personal preference, man. I'll give you guys 50 covers a book if you're happy with it. But the thing about that is, and that's what that goes hand in hand with people not understanding what it takes to make a comic book, because certain cover artists are $600 to $1,000 a pop. You know what I mean? So if you're putting them on there, now you've got to make X amount of dollars to make up for what you sold.
It's a business in which understanding the cost to produce a book just on cover basis is so interesting.
For sure.
This goes back to running a business, and where it's that there's a break-even point,
right?
And then there is, and the basic way you do this is that you calculate how much each page costs, and then, or you might not even do that if you have a cover A and cover B, and then you have variants. You might keep that sort of separate because you're already printing the book in cover A, and B should cover your costs more or less. And then what you basically do is that if you print 100 of a book, you have to divide the cost of that and plus the printing.
For sure. Absolutely. One thing, though, the interesting thing about that is, and it goes back into what it is to be in this industry. It's not for people with shallow pockets. It's not. When I started this, it was $50,000 to begin this at all. You know what I mean? And I didn't break even until my third book. But that being said, my third book was out in 5 months of me putting out my first book. And not everybody does that. You know what I mean? So but you have to have drive. You know what I mean? It's a drive. Can you keep up with it? Can you do it? Can you handle the stress? Kickstarter is a stressful thing all to begin with.
Oh, I know. I was in January. It was not fun.
No, I'm on that thing like every couple minutes. Even though I don't need to be, I am. Like, I'm like, huh. You mother hen this thing, and you don't need to, but you feel like you have to. You know what I mean? You feel like you have to. Imagine doing it twice a month. Like, it's like, man, it's wild. So, but that being said, I think that when it comes to covers, you have to have an idea of what your budget is and what you're going to make back from it. Like right now, if you look in all the way at the bottom of the page, April Reyna's print original art sold for $400. Okay. And that's something to think about. Now, a lot of people come into this and they don't understand how that works. Most folks now, it's an industry standard that they get to keep the original artwork, unless you put that in a clause in the conversation or the contract that you have with said individual. But if you buy the original art for most things, you can make back a lot of the money that you spent. Now, I tend not to do that. I tend to leave that more to the artists, because I think that's how they make a chunk of their money. You know what I mean?
And there's certain artists who sell their pieces for 15 to 20.
For sure. Well, I just saw a cover of mine go for $4,000 the other day. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that was really cool. Didn't know it was being sold for that, but that's awesome.
I'll drop a name. Simon Baisley's original artwork goes for like $15,000 to $20,000.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't, as general consumers, you don't think about that. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, that's really, really cool for them. And you feel good because you're also helping your team by helping them do their own thing and exist, because they're helping you. It's a very symbiotic relationship with the people you work. It should be. Anyway, it should be. I'm not saying it is with everybody, but it should be. But yeah, so have an idea of what you're spending, have an idea of what your overhead is. On average, it takes most people 2 to 5 years to break even on a comic book. Again, I'm not the norm, so it's hard for me to go, hey, look, follow my example. You know what I mean? But I love seeing people succeed. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing in the world, because like when you see other people succeed, it gives you hope for the indie industry. You know what I mean? Because like right now, with Kevin Feige coming out and saying Marvel's future is film, you know what I mean? That's their future. And you're like, well, DC's doing the same thing now. They're so worried about their movies and stuff that the comic books are taking a back seat. Look at the interior art, look at the covers. I mean, you're losing things. And I don't mean the covers as in the artwork on the covers, because they're still pulling top-notch dudes out. But when it comes to interiors, they're slacking a lot. And when I put out a book and you're like, oh, look at Dustin's interiors versus Marvel's interiors, you should think that Marvel's interiors are Marvel's interiors and not my interiors or Marvel's interiors. You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah. I could tell you where all the good covers are now, store exclusives.
right.
That's where all the good covers are.
Absolutely. I mean, we do them too. You know, I mean, we're in like 4 stores in Tennessee right now, and you know, they have the best covers. Not like better than our normal covers, but they're the best covers in the shops because they go out and they pick their artist, and most of the time it's a team member of ours, you know, that they just won an exclusive for. And we do those. We do those for $900. You get 50 copies of the book. That includes the printing. Okay, for that $900 and the artwork, not the original art, but the cover art. You know what I mean? So you get all. It's a great deal for $900. But that's generally speaking, most folks on our team will adhere to that. But
yeah, and I'm sure. I know you have it on your tier, and I'm sure that technically, if somebody said, "Hey, could I reach out to somebody else who didn't offer it and see if they would be interested in it?" Something
absolutely.
if they're interested, you know. Not to put Greg Bow on the spot, but I don't see Greg Bow's name up there. But I'm sure that if someone said, "Hey, I love Greg Bow Watts,"
Absolutely, yeah. You know, but you have to take any of those things you see with a grain of salt. Like it's like if you were to be like, hey, you know, I got 10 grand and I'm trying to get J. Scott Campbell to do a cover for me for my store, would that be okay? Yeah, cool, do it. You know, if you can afford it, because you're going to pay the 10 grand and then you're going to pay the print costs. You know what I mean? So those are the things you have to factor in. Other than that, dude, it's super easy. You know, like there are cats now, they band together to get their own exclusives. You know what I mean? It's
it's something that I want to do for my eBay store at some point.
You should absolutely. I mean,
it's just a matter where I don't have a job right now, everybody.
Absolutely.
So I got to go make sure that I am
Absolutely.
financially stable, and that's another thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that there's nothing wrong with saying, "Look, I'm not doing a comic book right now because I don't want to put my kids' college fund at risk."
No, absolutely not. And like I said, that's where it all comes in. Earlier I mentioned the fact it's deep pockets because it is deep pockets. You know what I mean? You have to have the investment to walk in and be like, hey, look, I'm ready to start selling comic books, creating comic books, whatever, what have you. Even if it's eBay stores, you still have to have the money to go out and buy the books, to turn and flip the books. You know, you have to keep up with the speculative market. There's all kinds of different things involved in this. It's not just I want to make a comic book or I want to sell comic books. There's so much more to it than meets the eye, you know, or even like red tape. Okay. Red tape in comic books. You know, I changed a script because I didn't feel like dealing with shenanigans. I was proud of it. I was super excited about it. I thought it was the greatest thing. Everybody loved it. Everybody told me I was going to get hung for it. You know what I mean? Because there is, as good as something is, you still have to market to your readers. You know what I mean? It can be a great story, but if you do something that let's say like you've got a main character and you like your main character, but the main character needs to die, okay, for your story to continue the way you want it to continue, but the fan base is going to hate it. Fan base is going to absolutely hate it. Look at Brand New Day. You know what I mean? The fan base destroyed Spider-Man over that. I still don't think Spider-Man has recovered from Brand New Day. Just personal opinion, I don't think it's recovered. But
I think there were other problems with Spider-Man that
for sure. But I think that was the beginning of the oh my God, we're done with you, poor Peter Parker. You know what I mean? But it's a very interesting concept. Knowing your audience, knowing your comics, knowing your covers, knowing your cost, your overhead for all these different things. No, there's a million things you can get.
Why do you think I haven't written anything yet? Because it's the idea that I'm making really good money in my eBay store.
For sure.
And then I'm doing something where I put into the stock market and then I'm making more money. And why would I go risk that when something's working? And would I love to have the glory of it, sure. But at the same time, I can go and buy an exclusive from my eBay store, and I could go have a sexy luchador on my cover.
For sure.
And done by
Absolutely.
Steph Wilson of all people, if I really wanted it. And now all of a sudden I have what I want.
Right.
And then I would hopefully put in the clause where I get rights to buy the art from Steph before anybody else, because I'll buy the art from him. And
For sure.
in the
Absolutely.
clause that I get first dibs on the art.
Well, you look at those things, but you know, the like I said earlier, it's not a get rich quick game. It really isn't. So it's like, if that's the game, if that's what you're looking for, this is not for you. You know what I mean? But
There's a million other ways how to get rich.
there really are, man. And another thing about it is it's not for everybody. The stress is real. Like, it's so real. Especially, I mean, I guess, like I said, I guess it's different if you're doing it once a year, twice a year, you know, but when you turn it into an actual industry, when you start becoming a name that people know, you're putting out product on a quick basis. You know what I mean? So now it's like, are you putting out product they want? This is so key. Are you putting out good product, or are you just shitting out product to shit out product? You know what I mean? And that's a whole different thing.
And I'll throw you another curveball on that. What happens when you make a wrong move and you put out something and you bet wrong? Because that happens too. And now it's like, all of a sudden, what do you do? Because you have a fan base that you zigged when you should have zagged.
For sure. I think you have to be real careful until you have a dedicated fan base, which is integral to this industry. Like, I love all our fans. I have fans that'll come in and buy every book we put out because they enjoy the stories. I have fans that come in and they only buy one or two of the stories we put out. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I love them all equally because they're all great folks, and they all come back with amazing feedback. You know, they all come back with amazing stories to tell, amazing questions. You know, what's going on with C next month? You know what I mean? How is C going to survive this or that? And it's like, those are the coolest things in the world to me. You know, when you talk about the pride and the glory and all that jazz, whatever, I don't need that shit. The cool shit is when people are like, this was a dope story arc. And I'm just like, yes, it was. It was so much fun to put together, you know? And I think that people will feel that way a lot with If It Hops, because it, just like BGD, whereas BGD is very cyberpunk, dinosaur type of deal, futuristic, you move into If It Hops, and it's very brightly colored in a different way. Like, BGD's got these beautiful neon lights and these crazy characters and stuff, where If It Hops is just this beautiful world to begin with, and we use darkness to tell story with If It Hops. Like, because I don't ever think that serial killers are out in broad daylight killing folks. That just doesn't vibe with me. You know what I mean? Unless they're going to like go out, they're going to blow themselves up or some crazy shenanigans. I don't see it like that. I don't ever feel like it's, so I don't write superhero books, right? I think this is integral. It goes with my mindset. I don't think the bad guy is coming to rob the bank in broad daylight. It's just not something that is, you know, it's cool for certain movies and stuff, and you're trying to amp that up and all that jazz. Generally speaking, though, the bad shit happens in the evening, you know, so we use these dark times and stuff and If It Hops to tell story and to create ambiance, just like we do with BGD, like I said, but we use bright colors and stuff for BGD to break that up, you know. There's the battle scene in issue 1 is in a abandoned building at night. You know, so the cops are in the abandoned building trying to find the serial killer in the evening. You know, so it's like we create this terror with these characters. Because you know what was really scary about old scary movies and stuff is you didn't see the bad guy. You know what I mean? He was around and he was killing folks, but you didn't see him. You know, I think that we all got so used to this bullshit where the villain is in front of us all the time, and it's a different type of terror than it was in an old school horror film. You know, so I want that ambiance to happen. I want you guys to get those feelings of, holy shit, where's he at? You know, what's occurring? And I like that. I like that feeling and that holy cow, I'm holding my breath before I turn the page because I don't know what I'm going to get on the next page. And I think that's integral. I think it's a lot of fun. And I think that's, again, brings your readers into it. That feeling of you could be, Officer Mabara in the building, walking around with your flashlight, looking around for the serial killer.
Yeah, I think that that's a lost art, and I think people want that to sort of come about, and
Sure.
it's going to be fascinating. But I don't want to keep pushing into your story and ruin it for everybody because I want people to actually go buy it.
Yes, please pick up If It Hops. Because when we hit 10,000, which we're gonna hit 10,000, but when we hit 10,000, we're one of the cool things that we do as stretch goal guys is we've done it for the past few books. We add full story pages, 6 full story pages, what takes your $14.99 24-page full color book to 30 pages of story for the same amount of money. And I think that's very cool because getting stickers and stuff is fun. We send out stickers, we do that stuff. But
Stickers don't do it for me, man.
well, see, and it doesn't do it for everybody. So like this time we're also doing collectible cards, which we've never done before, with like stats on them, like high quality cards with stats on them, which we've never done. So I'm very excited to do that. But the big thing for us is the story pages, because I get to go in and I get to create. Because I mean, I've got them laying to the side, what I'm going to add. But when I go into it, I'm like, man, I get to do it. I get to show you guys. Like one of everybody's favorite thing about BGD2 was the additional pages. They loved the Stitches stuff, and Stitches has got its own storyline coming out, and people really, really dug that. So, yeah, 6 additional full story pages, no bullshit, just throwing art in there. You guys are getting full story stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and obviously, I don't want to push, as I was stating, too much, but I do want to give you a chance to self-promote. If an hour and 16 minutes, almost 17 minutes, was enough promotion time, you could have even more right now. So,
Yeah,
obviously, where can people find you? Where can people hit you up? Where can people find the Kickstarter? Where can people bother you? Where can people?
Oh man, I am easy to find. I am that guy that is the easiest guy to find. Like I would suck at Where's Waldo, right? So if you go to www.ethereal-comics.com, the coolest thing about our website is it's got everything added to it. Like you can find my Instagram there, you can find my YouTube videos there, you can find the store there, my blog is on there. All the stuff is attached to the website. Now, if you want to get into in-depth stuff, we have the Ethereal Comics Facebook group. Join that. Don't go to the page. The page is stupid, and I've only made it because it connects to my website for ads and stuff like that. But go to the group. The group is super cool. Everybody always talks about comics in there, and they're always talking about If It Hops, BGD, Greed. Oh my gosh, The Listener, Underland, Fallen Leaves, you name it. If it's an ethereal book, they talk about it in there. And we're always posting imagery in there because it's an easy thing for me to get to show you guys cool stuff, because Instagram's great and I post in there a lot, but it's in DeviantArt. We do DeviantArt. DeviantArt's connected to, but you can also hit me on Facebook, just me. You can just Dustin Brunell on Facebook. And because I keep all my stuff open, so you guys can always find me. There's not any, pay locks or anything like that. But you guys can find me anywhere. I post up all kinds of content, and we're always promoting the other team members' projects and stuff. So you'll always see cool stuff to pick up. Yeah, man, I'm an easy to find type of dude, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting, and I'm going to keep saying it. I've been saying it for almost 3 years now, and I keep saying it. You have to support indie. Indie comic creators and content creators are not Marvel, DC. They don't have deep pockets, and every dollar goes into helping that project happen or making the next project happen. And Dustin is no different. I'm no different with this show. And so obviously supporting goes a long way. Obviously financially, when people have Kickstarters going on, and I include myself because I ran a Kickstarter earlier this year for this show, one of the things is that all that money goes into this show and it makes it work, and all the money that is raised from If It Hops goes into If It Hops, and it makes the book possible. So obviously financially, when people have Kickstarters, pledge to them because it makes a difference. And even going further, I get it. Sometimes people don't have money, and that's all right too. Things happen. Everybody is at different financial levels. And so if you're in a financial quagmire, for lack of a better word here.
That's a good word. It's good use.
It's a great word.
I love that. I was like, man, he really just busted out quagmire. I'm about that.
I like using that word. I like using words that are fun, that sound fun too. But if you're in a financial quagmire, all I'm going to say is that you could share it out on social media, and that's free. So obviously you can share it out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and anywhere else where social media is happening, because that also does help spread the word. And you never know who's going to be seeing it, or you can just shoot it to somebody in Messenger, or better yet, you could share out this interview, because I greatly appreciate when people share out the interview. It means a lot. As far as I'm concerned about all my stuff, I got some cool free comic book day advertising deals coming for the first 10 people that will be announced on Thursday in my comic book hangout. So you could check that out, and whoever claims it, 10 of them. So obviously pay attention there. It's really good deals, and I like to give people opportunity and give them really decent advertising deals. As well as, obviously, I have a Redbubble shop, so you can buy my t-shirt up there, which I have an awesome picture of because I'm a huge Gundam fan, guys. This is my t-shirt. So it's making fun of a lot of things. And with Gundam doing some cool Gundam stuff in the next few months, great time to buy my t-shirt. I did not do that. I just paid for it. And I hired somebody from some country that I can't say. But don't worry, guys. I built it up off Upwork because I outsource everything I do.
Right on.
So having said that, and then obviously I do have Buy Me a Coffee. So if you like to support this show and all that stuff, and you like what I do here, I appreciate donations. I'm not one to turn down money because money's good. Or better yet, you can just give me your credit card and I will spend what I need. I'm more than happy to accommodate you if Buy Me a Coffee is not for you. But having said all that, I really do appreciate when people share this out. It does mean a lot to me. But more importantly, give me money, because I want to make this show continue to work, and I do need the money. So happy to do that. Just give me your credit card. Better yet, open up a credit card in my name. You'll pay the bill. It'll all work out in the end. I also accept cryptocurrencies. So having said all that, though, seriously though, jokes aside, share it out. It means a lot to me. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Support indie comics. Hang out, Andrew. And dude, go pick up Pivot Hops. It's mad fun.
Yeah, there you heard it, everybody. That's a wrap, everybody.